This week on the documentary review podcast, Jonathan and I put on our swankiest dinnerware and break out our checkbooks as we discuss the 2015 documentary series, Chef's Table. Welcome to the podcast. I am PT.
And I'm Jonathan. We're glad you can join us as always. Here
Yeah,
to do something for the first time on the documentary review
yeah,
podcast this week.
welcome to Foodie Cast, our cast all about foods, the ingredients. We really just take an in-depth look at the soil composition, at the man. We get in deep in there.
That's it. I was actually referring to, of course, we're going to do that as well. I do it for every meal, but but we're actually going to review some TV series this time as opposed to standalone documentaries. I don't
That's
think we've
right.
ever done before.
It's
So
gonna be great. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do
could
it
be
again
good.
someday.
Maybe.
It is different though because we're like reviewing two completely separate
So yeah.
stories. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it, but before we get going, get too deep into it, give us our synopsis. I'm going using the plural there since there's
All
two.
right. Well, in that case, I'll break it down in a different way that I'd planned to. It could be so.
No,
We
you
are
pretend I never said that. Go
we're
back to
on.
your
We're going
hit
to be
reset.
reviewing Chef's Table episode 1 and episode 2 this week in the documentary review podcast. And the premise of the show is basically to follow around a chef inside and outside of his kitchen, kind of focusing on him as a person and his restaurant. In episode 1, we follow around an Italian gentleman named Massimo. I don't know if I'm quite saying it right, but pretty close. And his basically philosophy, of which I guess most chefs have, that the food is truly art and you can see it in a major way. And he finds a way to bring the art out of very common foods and traditional foods to take them on in a whole new light. And then he's also just a very creative, spontaneous kind of guy that you get to kind of follow around his journey to his restaurant, which is currently second best in the world, ranked by some important restaurant ranking people. So it's got to be true. On the other episode 2, we follow around Dan Barber, who is a gentleman with a restaurant in New York, and he is kind of a jerk, but he's a very likable jerk. He's got a temper on him. It's kind of a Chef Ramsay kind of a treat your uh, employees poorly a little bit, but he also has some great elements. The best of which is his idea of focusing on the whole path of getting food from its environment, the farm, to the table, and what kind of sustainability we can have to keep that relationship alive in a positive way for both the farmers, and the taste of the food. So there's your synopsis.
All right, good deal. Thank you for that. And do you give this thumbs up, thumbs down? Where are you going?
Pretty strong thumbs up for me.
Cool. Yeah, I
PT?
give it a thumbs up too. I think it was I mean, obviously we'll get into a lot of stuff, but first off, I just want to say that I think it was definitely very well done. It was like a very beautifully shot and very just a well-made series. So kudos to everyone involved.
Yes, good job, Netflix and all the crews that made it. But you're right. It was lots of beautiful shots, good editing, um, you know, good eye for colors and angles and themes that tie the whole episodes together. So if you're gonna go into it watching for technical elements, I think you'll really enjoy this series. At least, assuming the other episodes continue on like the first two did.
Yeah. So I guess that's the big question that maybe I should have saved to the end. But will you go on and watch the rest of these? Do you think?
I think so. I think I'll. They got me hooked on the first two. They were both really good. Especially like I thought the first one was like inspiring. It was just yeah. I don't know if it was just because that guy, the chef they follow around. Like he's certainly just like it made me think like is there a way that I can bring something new to my profession? I don't know if there is. I've been thinking about it ever since I watched this, but a lot of it was just like him constantly thinking and striving to bring something new to, food and the way that it's made and presented and all that. And plus, what did you think of his restaurant? Like the dishes themselves? Did you like?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to try them. I was like, that was one and I think it's going to be hard to not like compare the two stories a lot in this because we just watched two of them. But um, that was one thing. Like I felt like if I went to that guy's restaurant, I'd be really into it. Where if I went to the other restaurant, I'd be like man, what am I supposed to be doing here? Like when they just bring out like a freaking a bunch of tomatoes on a vine, I'd be like, man, what do I do? Am I supposed to just like take this? And what do I do here? What's going on?
Yeah, yeah, that was a little extra weird for me too, because like I get it, and I get it, like where especially if you were born and raised in New York City, where the restaurant is, that might be like mind blowing to you or whatever. But I literally grew up where we went, like if we wanted strawberries, we went out to a
Right.
strawberry patch, picked them off the ground, and ate them. The same with tomatoes and apples and all that stuff. So that stuff to me is like, well, geez, I just paid a lot of money to come to this restaurant. You're giving me the crap I had when I was a kid. I mean, like, obviously I get the social implications of what he's doing, and I think that's a great thing. But like from my eating perspective, and like, maybe these people have never had food that hasn't been, shipped across the country and stored and non-vine ripe and all that stuff. So I would be like, well, this is just like, this is
Thanks
what,
for tomato.
yeah,
That was like
right. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of how poor I was when I grew up. Now let's get to the food that someone else has prepared for me.
um yeah, I was actually like a little bit let down by the second one. I think just because the I had a similar reaction to you as the first one, where it's just really strongly connected with it in a lot of different ways, and then the second one, I was like, I kind of got mad at the guy about a few things, and I think part of it was just that I connected with the philosophy of the first guy a lot more. Like I like to like in some ways it's almost like polar opposite philosophies that they have, where the Missimo, his whole thing is like, let's take these like really common ingredients that are around here and these food everyone loves, and like take that and take that childhood experience we've all had and like put it through a new lens, a more sophisticated lens, and all that stuff. Where like the and he had the comment about I feel like we're not doing enough for these great ingredients. We need to like elevate our game for these awesome ingredients. And like the other guy's philosophy was like basically the exact opposite, where he was like, oh man, we got to up the up the ingredients. We got to like bioengineer the craziest squash we've ever seen. We've got to like he was all about like upping. It was almost like he had the exact opposite. That was like, man, these ingredients aren't awesome enough for me. I need to get them fresher, get them awesomer. Which I mean,
Yeah.
I get what he was doing and everything like that, but I just didn't connect with it as much as the first guy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, where I didn't really, I suppose, think of it until you brought it up. But like the first guy was just so much, like, it was like inspiring to watch episode one. Where like, I don't know, there was just something about that guy that kind of drew you in, and like, yeah, it was, everything was through a very positive and like artistic kind of a magical lens for that guy. Where he was just like, I mean, the way he lived his life was like, and maybe that was part of the inspiration too, where you'd see him, he was just like, yep, and then I got this great opportunity to go to Paris and work with this chef that I dreamed my whole life to work with. And he's in there and he's working with this chef, and it's great, and he's learning all kinds of new things. And he's like, but there's this girl back in New York, and I knew I made a mistake letting her go. So I just quit, threw everything away, showed up at her doorstep without a phone call in New York, and was just like, you're the one. Let's do this together. You want to live in New York? You want to live in Italy? Wherever you want to do, let's do it. It's like, I think that's the kind of man most people would want to be. We're just like bound by nothing and not afraid, in a lot of ways, or at least theoretically that sounds cool. I think in real life it might cause a lot of issues, but
Yeah, his story was very romantic, and also the he had the whole like just really cool Hollywood thing of like when he opened his restaurant, everybody was poo pooing him and saying how terrible he was, and got bad reviews and all that stuff, and then some like really important critic just like happened by and was like, hey, this is the
best restaurant in the world.
great best restaurant in the world.
Yeah, man, I don't understand how you couldn't, like, again, like I literally looked up reservations for the restaurant to see if I could like get one for my birthday, because I was like, that'd be cool. Like, I mean, like, that's how like into it I was by the end of this. I was like,
Nice.
I'll buy Mandy and I some plane tickets to Italy to go try out this restaurant. It seemed that cool to me. Plus, what a good reason to hop on a plane and go to Italy. But
Sure.
As it turns out, you can't book out that far in advance, and there's no like you can only book 3 months in advance. And I checked all the days for the next 3 months, and they're all booked. So I was like,
Uh,
damn. So apparently, it's kind of hard to get in there. But
nice, nice. Yeah, and he also had like all kinds of cool stuff. Like he had the old Italian lady teaching those people to make pasta. He had,
yeah,
it's just like, and he seemed just so positive and so yeah, just like a whole family atmosphere. He had the whole thing where his whole team would sit down and eat a nice dinner before they served and all that stuff. Oh, it's great. What a great guy.
what a great guy. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that was yeah, it was his too. And I found this really intriguing too. This when I was trying to make reservations, that you look at the menu,
Hmm.
and the menu only had two options. It was like I should have written them down, but one was like a flair on Old Italy or something like that. Was like one choice, and the other choice was something else equally ambiguous as far as like, there's no like dishes listed. There's just like two choices, so I assume like whatever he feels like making that day is what you're gonna eat. But
Right. Reminds me of like this is off of him, but like I read an article recently about a restaurant in I want to say it was somewhere in Florida where like they had a really good chef who was like awesome at making burgers and like they would not let you put any like condiments on it. Like if you if you tried to like to put ketchup on their burger or whatever, they would just flip out and like patrons were mad that they weren't allowed to put condiments on their burger. But I thought it was funny because I could see that would really tick you off if you're a chef and you had like the flavors all perfectly balanced. That somebody was like, "Hey, give me the Heinz," and just squirting Heinz all over it.
right, right, like yeah, like in my philosophy on food has definitely changed in the last like 2 3 years because like I certainly grew up and like my whole like entire life really like my philosophy in food was essentially it was like unavoidable delay. Or not that I didn't like to like occasionally eat foods that I was like way into, but most of the time it was like I was busy doing stuff and I'd have to stop doing stuff to go get food. So it was like whatever like I wasn't in search of like the next some great culinary dish. I was always in search of sustenance to provide energy for me to keep doing the things I wanted to do. And it was a drag that I had to stop doing those things to go get food. But anyway, and so that was always kind of my thing was like and then plus like I didn't eat out very much or eat like nice meals or chef style stuff very often. So I always thought like and plus I have a sweet tooth, so I would eat like a Hershey's candy bar, chocolate bar, and I'd be like, I don't think I've ever eaten anything else as good as a Hershey's chocolate bar. So like paying a ton of money for like a steak seemed stupid because I was like, well, it's good, I enjoy it, but it's still no Hershey's chocolate bar. So, but in the last couple of years, I have really like I've had some really good food. I have a friend that is big into food, and so like he does stuff, and this was new to me. But like I've been big into sushi lately, and he'll go into sushi restaurants where he knows the chef, and we'll sit down for a meal, and he's just like, you know what I like, and that's it. That's how he orders, and then they just start bringing us food, and it's amazing. It's like mind-blowingly good stuff. So I get it now. I'm starting to really like come around to the food can be a really awesome, like creative, artistic kind of a thing.
Nice.
Still not as good as chocolate, but
right. Come on. Yeah, I was thinking, man, I hope these chefs don't find out about Kraft mac and cheese because man, they'll be disappointed. They'll be like, oh man, $2 powdered crazy powdered cheese. I give up. No, but yeah, I really like that first guy. That was just very. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. He had the whole story too about the what was it, like an earthquake in his town or something?
That was like, again, yeah, that was a testament to the editors and documentary makers. That was the introduction to the series was in his hometown, which apparently is, I guess, one of the major sources of Parmesan or Parmigiano cheese. They had this big earthquake. It destroys all the wheels of cheese, or at least damages them. And so once they're damaged, they're going to go bad very quickly. And so, but it was, I think they said 350,000 wheels, which wheels are like these giant, I can't get back big enough, far enough to do these huge blocks of cheese. So obviously a giant chunk of their inventory was ruined or damaged in this earthquake. And so he makes a dish that has that kind of cheese, and then 40,000 chefs jump in worldwide on the bandwagon to make the dish, which is like a rice dish that can essentially be served with anything. And so they use up all the cheese, and it doesn't destroy their, otherwise it could have bankrupted these cheesemakers and people lost their jobs and all this. So just like as a social gesture, all the chefs embraced it and collectively saved this industry. I thought that was a great kind of like, this is about more than food, just a cooler way to say that they led with that story.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I don't know. Let's go on to the second guy because I feel like we have so many good feelings about the first guy that I'm a little more conflicted about the second guy. So let's talk about him a little
Move
bit.
on to Dan.
Yeah. Dan. So Dan, yeah, he's just like a big farm to table guy. I guess where I had the big part of where I was getting annoyed with him was when he like had the big thing where he's talking about, like America doesn't have really a cuisine because in like most of the great cuisines in the world have come out of like impoverished areas where they just like have to make use of like what they have and like they over time develop it into something awesome. But then like his whole philosophy is like the exact opposite of that. I was like, what? He's like, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say his philosophy was the opposite. I mean, like, yeah, he did get into the parts where they were like essentially modifying, vegetables or whatever. But I mean, like, his still like every day, like what they made in the restaurant was based off what was coming out of the farm that day. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, it was what was available. I mean, they were working really hard to make good stuff available. But I mean, like before that was just normal. You know what I mean? You didn't have and like one thing that I find funny about all like the sustainable farm to table stuff, all that is everybody's like, oh my gosh, now we engineer grains so that they don't have any nutritional value, but they do have a super long shelf life and they can be shipped all over and they can be made into anything. But we've lost the flavor and the health benefits. You know what else we've lost? Starving people. There's no starving people anymore. That's a huge,
Right.
huge thing. We've done that and it's an amazing thing and everybody forgets about that. I mean, like, and it's not like that happened a super long time ago. I mean, like before, you could go back to 1930, America, the United States. In 1930, it's not that long ago, and people were like super malnourished.
Right.
And that's when there was only farms like we're trying to get back to today, these little mom and pop farms and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Just think about the story of Captain America. Is the story of a guy who was turned away from the army because he was too malnourished or whatever, which was a super common thing in World War II that got people get turned away because they're too malnourished.
Right, super malnourished was a regular trait of an American young man. Period. So I mean, like we've come a hell of a long way by, yes, it's growing pains, but we did. Now we're all obese because we got so good at feeding ourselves.
Right.
So anyway, but kudos to us for solving the, starvation / malnourishment issue.
I mean, good job. There's something we've been working on for all of our
for the history of right, and we did it. We kicked its ass.
Yep. Good
so
job.
Just one shout out to that. So now we can go back to like poo and how we do things. But
right. Yeah. And granted, there are still like starving people in the world and stuff like that.
Right, but that's only like, I mean, really, only because of like, geopolitical forces or whatever. We certainly can make enough food to feed everyone. No problem.
Yes, good point.
Yeah,
and I guess like I don't know. Tell me if I'm like being too curmudgeonly about this whole thing, but like part of the thing that bugged me about this guy was like it almost got to the point where he was like, this is like the morally superior way to eat. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like and that I guess that wouldn't bother me, except that it's also like the super expensive way to eat. So it's almost like you're saying, yeah, you can't afford to be like as moral as I am unless you can like eat at my place.
Right. I would definitely agree with the first part of that, but I mean, like, I don't think I think his notion is that we should be able to make it so everyone eats that way. So it's not just his place. You know what I mean? He's trying to build a model of sustainable food, and trying to solve the problems that because everyone kind of just says like, well, you can't do that, which we in the past we haven't been able to do that, and nobody really does it now. But I think we're smart enough and could potentially figure out a way to get a farm to table solution, or at least closer to it, a good balance or something. So I didn't get that. I don't think. I think he was saying it's the morally superior way, but then he was also trying to work towards making it a solving those problems, like solving things like crop rotations to keep soils good instead of just like dousing it with whatever chemicals, which works. But instead of doing that, to rotate crops and then using those crops that are going to be in the other the non-wheat cycles. And that's just good all around business. I mean, not just business, but for a lot of reasons. So,
Sure.
but he was a super egotistical guy for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have anything against like expensive food. That's totally fine. Like, Missy Mo had his super expensive food too, but he wasn't being like, "Hey man, my food is morally superior to
Right,
your Tyson chicken breast or whatever."
right. But I mean, like that wasn't, but I was kind of glad because that's just like another way. You don't want all the chefs to be like Miss Mo either
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
seeing the series. So, and his angle was cool. I mean, like I thought it was that, maybe if we just made, maybe there's a way to make vegetables so they don't taste crappy and more people will eat them, hence be more, healthy and whatever. But
yeah. No, I think it's good that there's got someone doing what he's doing and all that stuff. Um, yeah, I guess I don't really know why it bugged me, but it just kind of bugged me.
yeah, yeah. One other thing that was like I thought was interesting too was they showed very very little of his family life or life outside the restaurant. They gave a little back history, but not much. And then they were just like, oh yeah, and then he's got his kid and wife too. And I don't think you ever heard anything from his wife. And like that was part of most story too, was that it was a partnership where he had found a cool balance to have his wife and family as kind of part of that business, and the business was almost like part of the family, because obviously owning a restaurant's a huge time-consuming life, kind of a lifestyle job, if you will, or career, or whatever. But he seemed to really incorporate all of it together well, and
Yeah.
I got the feeling that Dan was just like, oh man, I got this family that's just kind of a burden on top of my restaurant.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting how they talked about how he still like cooks and everything like that, and is still in the kitchen basically all the time. And at first they kind of present that as a positive, like, oh my gosh, look at this, he's in there working with all the other cooks and everything like that. But then at the end they did kind of get to the point where they're like, yeah, well maybe that's not the best idea for him and his his work life balance.
Yeah, I also found that, I mean, that was something that I didn't really truly understand, is that once you become a great chef, then you don't actually cook. Yeah, it seems like a
Right.
weird concept, but apparently that's normal.
All right. They
Yes.
are they are hiring line cooks too. If you're interested at his restaurant, I looked at their website. Um, they and it seems like, man, I've read like a few, like I read Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential book. I've read a couple like chef biography type books. Man, every chef, and then these chefs too, seems like the way you get your start as a chef is you just go to like a really fancy restaurant and just like kind of beg for a job, and then they and then they give you a job. So yeah, I guess if you want to be a chef, go to his restaurant and beg for a job. He'll yell at you a
Okay.
lot though.
Yeah, yeah. I guess maybe that's why they hire anybody. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we need somebody to screw up so I can yell at him. Interesting.
Yeah. Another thing, like I get this is a good example of how conflicted I was about that second one. Like there was one statement, one dish that they served that I was at the same time both like interesting idea and come on, like I was both at the same time. And it was when they served the waiter came and he set this plate in front of the person, and it was 3 pats of butter. It is like, yes, this is single udder butter. This all comes from the udder of the same cow or whatever. And at the same time I was like, all right, you're being ridiculous now. But then I was like, yeah, it probably does make a difference. So I was like, but I was both impressed and disgusted by that idea.
Yeah, I did not put as much thought into it. I mean, like, I certainly thought, well, I guess I'd like to try all three of those to see if there is any discernible taste difference,
All right.
and if so, how much. But that's about as much as I. Hmm.
Yes. And I'm trying to think anything
Ooh,
else about him.
I wonder now if I go to like get like a tub of butter, like grocery store nationwide chain butter, how many udders get in are mixed into that? This is
But
a yeah, probably like a 1,500 udder butter.
we should start just this would be a great like campaign experiment just to like see how the political system works in America. If we just started like a grassroots movement to get the number of udders put on like the butter container, like, hey man, America needs to know, and just like try to get a big movement started to get that added to the packaging.
Yeah, we could throw out some totally false things online just to be like, yeah, when more than 23 different udders are involved in making one thing of butter, the odds of contamination go up by 600%.
Right.
Right, dude, we can't have 600% contamination increases in America. We need this on the package. We need to know what kind of
I even got the commercial. The lead-in commercial could be like a child who's like, "Mommy, where's butter come from?" And the mom's like, "Well, son, it comes from a cow." And then we could just put on there, "Have you been lying to your child because your butter does not come from a cow? It comes from 1,500 cows, whatever. You deserve to know. Don't lie to your children anymore."
I don't see how that couldn't pass. I could see politicians getting behind that because it's like one
Yeah,
of the few topics where they could be like, well, there's no anti utter labeling
right. It's
on
probably
them.
like cost little money, but
Yeah, they don't care. If it bumps up their poll points by one, I'm sure they'd do it.
right. That'd be a good documentary trying to get that put on there.
I love it.
Nice. Yeah, so I don't know. So I guess that made me think about how the whole like kind of really big time foodie movement. Like I'm both intrigued by it and a little bit like it's kind of feel like it's a little bit pretentious at times. So
I, yeah, I don't know. And again, like the funny thing for me is I essentially ate, the way they're trying to get everybody to eat. When I was small and I hated vegetables, they were terrible. It was awful. Of course,
right.
we boiled a lot of stuff back then, and that just made it gross. But I don't know. I think vegetables still are inherently less tasty than carbohydrates and meat.
Yeah.
But that's just me too. Obviously, a lot of people really like them, and I think they're okay now as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to watch the other episodes of this just to see what kind of other cuisines they touch on. Like if there's, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious
I,
to see what people are doing with other kinds of cuisines.
yeah. I did actually watch some of episode 3.
Hmm. What was the deal with that?
Um, it's really odd. It was uh, a guy that's used open fire cooking a lot, so he
Hmm.
would like intentionally like burn things, and then like it lost me a little bit because he was like a renowned chef, but now like he like goes out to like this island out like 100 miles off road where he like has one of his homes and like makes these open pit cooking things, and it was like I don't know. You gotta watch that. We probably shouldn't do that for next week's documentary. You gotta watch it and we gotta talk about it because
All
I'm
right.
curious what your take on it is.
All right. Maybe we'll return
I
to.
was let down by the third one, but
Okay. Fair enough. Maybe we'll return to Chef's Table at some point. There are
maybe.
a plethora of chef documentaries, and they kind of touched on it in this. It's interesting how in the past, 10, probably more than that, probably 20 years, chefs have kind of become that. You had this weird celebrity status, the really good chefs, kind of like the first time in history.
Yeah, I'm sure a huge chunk of that is the internet. Because I
Yeah.
mean, before if you were like the best chef in that little tiny town in Italy, I guarantee there's a 0% chance I ever would have heard about that. And now we have like reviewers, critics that aren't just like the Chicago food critic, the New York food critic. Now we have food critics interacting all over the globe and flying around trying different things, and so you can become truly, well known.
Right. Plus, they need like a million chefs to go on TV and be on like the 8 million
True.
shows that they have.
Yeah. Apparently, we care a lot about food.
Yes, indeed. I I've travel a bit for work, and whenever seems like whenever I travel to a semi-major city, like, and I'm like, hey, where should you go? the answer is almost always like, oh, you should go to this one restaurant because that's one of the dudes who has this one show on on either Food Network or Bravo, or he has some show.
Really
Apparently,
interesting.
having a show is very valuable to your restaurant, I would say.
I would think so. I would think that's obviously getting on that top 50 restaurant list thing is makes it pretty tough to get in.
Yeah, indeed. I guess it probably depends on what clientele you're looking for. The people who look on that top 50 list are probably not the same as the people who are going to your restaurant because you're on Food Network, but
probably not. Yeah, well, I mean, like think what like an awesome bump for your business it is if some dude from Colorado can watch a thing about your restaurant and be like, I'll buy a plane ticket to cross an ocean just to check out your place.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. Apparently it's very good to be ranked number 2 in the world in restaurants.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Anything else to say about Chef's Table? That's all I had.
No. Were you inspired to cook anything when you got done watching it?
No, not really. It did make me think about, man, it'd be kind of fun to make pasta, but not enough that I
right. Didn't actually do it or anything. Yeah, no. All right.
And then for the other guy, I was like, I don't even know what you do for this. I guess you just go get some tomatoes on the vine. And...
Right. I mean, I guess maybe, yeah, you put a raised bed in your backyard.
Right.
If you live in town. All right.
Cool. So how many stars are you giving this bad boy?
I'm going to give it 4 stars. I liked it.
Yeah, I'll give it 4 stars too. I dug it.
Cool.
So that is Chef's Table. Check it out. Yeah, you got me curious about the 3rd episode too, and the open fire guy, because that sounds like a cool concept. But
I don't know. It seemed way too basic for me for like even the garden guy, like, you know, even Dan from episode 2. I was like, well, you know, they seem like, I mean, like, yeah, it was ultra ingredient focused, but I was like, I would like to see what a carrot tastes like if somebody like does everything humanly possible to make that carrot taste awesome. And this guy was like, well, I can grill, you know, I mean, like,
right.
I'm not sold on you, buddy. I think I could replicate your recipes just by watching a little documentary.
Well, I like that. It's more obtainable.
That's all right.
Check that out. All right. So for next week, the category for this is, what are the first 3 documentaries on PT's My List on Netflix? So we're going to go to My List and look at the first 3 documentaries that we've not watched yet and take a look at them. So the first one is In Search of General Tso. Is that how you say it? Tso? The Chinese food? TSO?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
General Tso. This clever, wide-ranging documentary examines the 19th century Chinese military man, General Tso, and the origins of the chicken dish named for him.
Okay.
That's interesting. Next we have What Happened, Miss Simone? Using never-before-heard recordings, rare archival footage, and her best-known songs, this is the story of the legendary singer and activist Nina Simone. That one's been getting a lot of buzz lately.
What is she an activist for? I don't know her, obviously.
I don't know. I only know her as a singer.
Okay.
Then we've got Honest Liar. An Honest Liar, I should say. As a retired magician and escape artist, James Randi sets out to expose frauds. He negotiates a personal life that's also fraught with deception. And because we're going so crazy, I'll give you one more.
Cool.
So far we've got the General Tso, we've got the singer, activist lady, we've got the magician who tries to expose fraud, and finally we've got Winnebago Man. This is, you might not be familiar with this, but there was a while back, there was a viral video of this guy who's like doing a kind of like I guess it was like a commercial for Winnebagos basically, and but somehow the outtakes of the video got put on YouTube, and he's just freaking out and swearing his head off like between takes or whatever, and like just totally flipping out at everybody. So it'll be like all nice and talking about the Winnebago, and then they'll cut and they'll just start absolutely flipping out on people. So this is a documentary about that guy, basically. This documentary explores the life of Jack Ribney, who became an internet sensation after a video of him furiously swearing made the rounds online. So there you go. Those are your choices. Wide range of stuff. What are you gonna do?
That is a huge range. I'm going with Winnebago Man.
Okay.
I'm intrigued. Like, I'm intrigued that they went. I just want to see the leap of how like some dude swearing online got made into a documentary that's on Netflix. So I've seen like the Winnebago Man like up. Obviously, I've flipped through Netflix a lot looking at that documentary stuff.
Right.
Haven't watched it yet, so let's do it.
But I was thinking about this, and I wonder if I think we might have already reached this point, but I wonder if eventually Netflix is recommending us the exact same stuff because, like, we always watch every week. We watch the same item, you know?
Right. Oh, like oh yeah. Never thought of that. If
So our algorithms should be like eventually be like exactly the same.
Yeah, but do you watch anything else on Netflix?
I don't really like all the members of my family have their own like little profiles.
Oh yeah,
So
that's true.
the only ones I don't really watch too much other than documentaries on Netflix. So
Okay. I do on occasion, but now I'm curious. We'll have to see sometime what our recommended picks are.
yes. All right. So next week we'll be talking Winnebago Man. Join us, will you? Won't you? Thanks for watching. This is PT. Keep it real.
And this is Jonathan. We'll see you next week.
Woo. Oh, wait, before we sign off, I have a new segment. I forgot. I almost forgot to talk about this. Each week, I don't know if I'm going to do it each week, but I want to try to recommend a podcast or YouTube channel or something that's like somewhat related to the documentary we're talking about. So this week, my recommendation is the YouTube channel Things I Bought at Sheetz. So here's this YouTube show. It's completely ridiculous and hilarious. It's these two guys. So Sheetz is a convenience store, I guess, in like the East Coast kind of area, kind of like I guess kind of like a Walmart type place or Walgreens type place, I think. But anyway, each episode, the one guy goes and buys something at Sheetz, like something weird, like a cotton candy flavored donut or something, and then comes back, takes a bite of it, and guy number two, from looking at his face, has to judge what his review of it will be, whether he likes it or not. That's the show. That's it. Each episode is like 2 minutes long, but man is hilarious. They do a lot with that. That's a really stupid concept. So, and they have a really catchy theme song that goes, "Now you're watching Things I Bought at Sheetz." So that's my recommendation. That's my recommendation for this week. Check out the YouTube channel, Things I Bought at Sheetz. So, all right, that'll really do it for us. Thanks for watching. That's my new segment. And I can stop there before you have a chance to criticize it, anyone. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.